great structure, great storytelling, great visuals. Just an overall great speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Thank you for having me here today virtually. It's good to see all of you. Leadership means something, but what does it mean to you? Leadership is the ability to guide others without force into a direction or a decision that leaves them feeling empowered and accomplished. Lisa Hanson. Leadership is a matter of having people look at you and gain confidence, seeing how you react. If you're in control, they're in control. Tom Landry. Leadership has immense power. And after my speech today, I will have completed my Competent Leadership Manual. Not only that, it will be combined with the force of completing my Competent Communicator Manual, and both will be done and we'll move on to pathways. So I'm excited for that. But you might wonder where my role in all of this began in the first place. Well, it started back in early 2016, and I was welcoming myself to my first Toastmasters meeting. I was excited because I just moved to Sioux Falls and I wanted to gain a sense of community and do something more with my life. I found that there was a meeting coming up, the District Speech Competition Level 2, downtown Sioux Falls at the public library. And so I went to attend. The seats were filling up. I joined, and there were 3 excellent speakers that decided to put their heart forward and give an inspirational speech. And boy, did they do it. I was, in fact, so inspired by their speeches that I had to hear more, because most of the crap that I usually hear is not very good. And what I mean by that is I gave speeches in high school and they were okay. I went to college and they were okay. But I went to Toastmasters and I started seeing some real speakers. So that was impressive to me. And I met our very own Laura Smith Hill, and she became my mentor, as well as Josh Wilpret. And Josh may not be with us here today, but that's okay. So what happened? I started attending our meetings at the County Branch Library, beginning my Competent Communicator Manual, not really interested in the leadership manual, because I did not see the value in it quite yet. Standing up, giving my first icebreaker speech, I was nervous and shaking in front of everyone, telling them that I was from the Black Hills and I moved to Sioux Falls. And I was working on developing these new skills with my newfound group. And I was excited. And thanks to Laura, she stuck it out with me, and I continued to gain a stronger sense of leadership. I eventually, after many years of practice, moved on to the leadership manual. But Toastmasters is not just about what you can do inside of the group. It's about what you can do outside of the group. It's about going to see your friends, your family, work with clients, coworkers on what it is that you came here to develop within yourself to express outside of the club. And that is leadership. I decided that it was time for me to share my most recent experience with you guys, with my experience in leadership and what that has done for others outside the group. I have been working for a while lately to help improve people's health through nutrition, through exercise, through things like the Wim Hof method, which was one of my previous speeches. And so I called up a friend of mine and I asked him a question. I said, "Hey, Trevor, how you been doing during the lockdown? Have you seen anyone in a while?" And he said, "No, absolutely not." And I said, "Great. Well, what do you think about going to hang out? What do you think about eating only whole foods for the weekend as part of the vegan challenge that I had him join me on?" And not only that, I had him join me on the Wim Hof method involving cold water immersion and a specialized breathing technique that has many immune boosting benefits. And so I thought, why am I not helping people right now with their health so that they don't get sick in the first place? How can I teach other people to never become sick ever again? This is a profound change in thinking, and a leader is needed during this time to stop the fear, stop the worry, stop the negativity, and lead in love, compassion, understanding, and be creative with the unknown. So I offered him that resolution, and he gladly accepted. Why would he accept something so crazy like that? To go and completely shift his diet for the weekend and jump in an ice cold river with me. I mean, you really must be out of your mind. Are you that bored? No, he wasn't. He was ready for a change, and I was ready to lead the way. So I decided to go ahead and head straight down to Rochester, Minnesota. We decided we were going to go to Frontenac State Park by the Mississippi River, a massive river full of power. And we also went to the Root River. We wanted to help support those local businesses that were questioning opening. So we called them up and said, hey, how you doing? We'd be interested in maybe going for a bike. We'd be interested in seeing you guys. And they were very happy to hear this news because people were scared to go out and be out. So positive news for them. We were on our way, and I decided to go to the grocery store and pick up all kinds of fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, and you name it. Put it all in my Yeti food cooler, and I stuck it in my back seat because those of you who know me well know I have a very big stereo in my vehicle, and there is no room in the trunk for anything else other than my sound system. That's right. So I was insured to have a great drive to Minnesota. Not bored for one moment. I arrived with my friend there in Rochester, Minnesota, and we decided to go ahead and take off to the Root River to start off. And I was not expecting him to jump in the cold water with me, but we were off to a good start eating healthy food, and he was enjoying it. It tasted good. And we were having fun together out in the sun, getting out in nature, just living life instead of being in the house 24/7 quarantine. We head out on the river bank, and I decided to jump in suddenly. And I ripped my shirt off and my pants off and exposed my trunks. Don't worry, they were on. And I jumped into an icy cold, 45-degree, balmy river. Don't worry, that's my dog, if you heard coughing in the background. I jumped into that river and stayed in for about 10 to 12 minutes. And how can someone just jump into 45 degrees and do just fine and get out and feel great? And that's because our body has the ability to acclimate and change and adapt to new forms of stress, whether they be cold or sickness or hot heat. And I was ready to teach and show my friend the true abilities of our body and what it can do. He did not get in the river that day, but he thought about it. And I planted the seed of leadership in his mind, because the following day we drove down to Frontenac State Park, cooler in the back, food ready. We headed out, took his vehicle down to the riverside. We paid for a state park pass, and guess what? The park was loaded with people, all kinds of families from Minnesota and other areas, all out spending time with their families and kids and having fun and feeling good. Nobody's sick. They're all in bright spirits. But we were on a mission, and I was on a mission because I knew that he was going through a hard time, and I wanted to help support him emotionally. And a good health coach would be there to support you in many different ways and not just your diet. So we get down to the end of this trail that we were hiking on together. He's got his big dog with him, and we're running. We get a few miles down, and soon you look down and you can see all the trees. You can see the massive river engulfing your field of vision. And it was powerful. It began to actually drizzle as we were there. We started zigzagging down this 1,000-foot descent, and we finally get down to the bottom of the river base. And people are coming up, dying, gasping for breath because they've been sitting in their house all the time. They're so out of shape, they can't help themselves. So I get down to the bottom with Trevor, and we're there. And suddenly, it was as though the weather changed. My intuition kicked in, and thunder began cracking and cracking over us. The rain started pouring on us. And I wasn't about to go all the way out to Mississippi River from South Dakota and not get in that river. Because I sure as heck wasn't going back up that descent one more time just to wait the weather out. I looked at my friend Trevor and I said, "The time has come." I knew instinctively that we were not in danger. There was a couple standing behind us, and they were staring at us thinking, well, these guys are absolutely nuts. These guys are crazy. I ripped my shirt off, pants off, once again exposing my trunks. And I decided to run down into the river across this very rough terrain. I stepped into the water, and boy, was it a balmy 45. I jumped in, feeling great, had a big smile on my face, and said, "Trevor, are you coming?" And in his mind, you could see the shackles. You could see do I really do this right now? He was about to break through not only one, but two of his fears. The fear of what others thought of him, and the fear of getting into cold water. And he admitted to me that these were two powerful, great fears of his that he needed to overcome and challenge himself to. He decided to step in the water. He said, "F it," looked back at me, and full charge right into that cold Mississippi River. He jumped in the water with me. And he stayed in the water too. He didn't just get back out. After 5 minutes, he stepped out. Another 5 minutes went by. I got out. And he let out a powerful cry, "Ah!" because the cold water was invigorating him. He felt the power of the clean food, the life coming inside of him, and his depression and fear lifted. He broke through two of his fears in one moment, and that was part of his roar. It was powerful, and he enjoyed it. And I was happy to be there to be the leader, the one that was instinctual, the one that said yes, the one that helped him break past that fear. And I feel that we can all do that during this time, during this pandemic, and be there for someone that might be afraid, that may need to step out of their fear and worry and challenge themselves to something new, something different during this time. And he said, "Thank you very much." He said, "But you knew to come during this time, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did know to come during this time. Intuitively inside me, I knew it was time to be there for him." And he thanked me very much and encouraged me to record and produce a video, which I have done. And I now challenge you to go onto my YouTube channel. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I encourage you to check out my video there on YouTube. All you have to do is type in Balancing Life on my YouTube channel, and you can leave a comment down below. If you want to join me, like I did with my friend Trevor here in the very, very cold water, you too can reach out to me at any time, and I would be more than happy to take you on one of my healthy adventures. Thank you so much for seeing the changes that the Competent Communicator Manual and Competent Leadership Manual and all the wonderful people at Toastmasters have done to evaluate me, to help improve me, to bring this to you here today. And I thank you all for your time and sharing this positive message with me. Thank you.
Great visuals, just an overall great speech, period. What makes a great speech? You're probably wondering. Well, for me, that's two things. Is it helpful and is it inspiring? And your speech today definitely checked both those boxes. And I would guess that everyone in the room felt the exact same way. That it was very helpful and truly an inspiring presentation. What I also like about your speech today and respect, and also strongly encourage, especially in leadership, is giving credit where credit is due. And you did that early in your introduction. You led with some very strong leadership quotes, and you cited who said those things. That was an example of giving credit where it was due. But you also really did a great job of acknowledging your mentors in Toastmasters, being Laura and Josh, and I really felt that was very appropriate. Also, like I said, respectable and certainly encouraged. When you're talking in leadership and you're doing leadership, giving credit where credit is due is certainly part of what really garners a amount of respect in the field. So you did a great job with that. Sean, for me personally, watching you present and hearing this, I've heard you deliver quite a few speeches, and they've all been good, but I really feel like this may be your best one yet. It is right up there. And I don't know if it's because of how much of it is about the journey, and you can just kind of see it unfold, and it just really, there's something about when speeches are, they're a personal journey that makes them really feel like, and this is a home run. And I really felt like you did that with this presentation. So I think this has been one of your best presentations yet. I thought you did a great job. I mentioned it in the front part of my evaluation that you were just very visual. You did a great job describing things. You when you went into that thunderstorm, you talked about the thunder cracking and the lightning, and the way you described the water, and you're just very descriptive and a very, very, very good storyteller. So I was definitely intrigued and drawn in. I love also how you were very enthusiastic and confident, energetic with your presentation. That's very normal for you, but it also really reflects how passionate you are about the content of health and wellness, especially as it pertains to other people. It seems like you get more excited helping others than you do even all the amount of help that you poured into yourself. And I love seeing that, or hearing that come out of your presentation. So great confidence, great detail through the storytelling. Areas for improvement would be in time. You went over time a little bit, and then you went over time a lot of it. And I was wondering if that was something that, well, that's definitely an area. Yeah, I wanted to say it. I'm not gonna do it. You guys know where I was gonna go with that. So, working on time would be an area for improvement. The conclusion, I was worried for a second that you weren't going to bring it home. You had so many details, so many things you're talking about. I'm like, when are we going to get back to leadership? And I just appreciate how you did reel it back in and to make it about the core of the presentation, which was about leadership and how real leaders show up in chaos, in times of turmoil and fear. You just said so many things, Sean, that was so inspiring. Facing fear, leading with love, seizing opportunities. I would remind you that true leadership is definitely starts with example. You set the example for your friend. You're setting the example for us today in our lifestyle choices. Appreciate you continuing to pound home the importance of taking care of our bodies and taking care of people. Job well done, Sean.
Thank you.